All right, we're here. It's late at night. Superstition, stitches, audacious hand or Cedric. They're smoking a bunch of dope. We're here to have fun. We're going to have a fun episode. For those of you who are tired of all the analysis, we're going to just give you a little bit, but mostly we're going to talk about some off-game stuff. It's brought to us by diplomacybriefing.com. And in the state these two guys are in, I don't think they could spell it for you. But
hey, I'm sober.
He got an 800 on his SAT verbal, so he could probably still spell it. I think he could
smokes a moderate amount of dope, sir. Okay,
it's legal.
Within my limits.
No laws. You're breaking no laws. Okay. So I'll call you guys dope head number 1 and 2. Spring 1903 is what I have up here. Just quickly, the predictions were right. Austria retreats to Tyrrhenian Sea, disbands east, and builds Army Kiel instead of Berlin. Thoughts? Thoughts on the Kiel build?
Yeah, I think Cedric called it. It's probably just to keep Russia happy. It gives him options. Doesn't show his hand right away. So it's probably a smart play, I guess, if he wasn't 100% sure which way he wanted to swing.
Right. Yeah, I pretty much covered it. I think that one was kind of a 50-50 call. Probably a little bit, just about a 50-50 call. Everything else, if you sit down and look at it, long enough, the answers are obvious. There's not really all that much to discuss. Kind of a boring.
Yeah, I'm pretty aggressive, so I would have put it in Berlin. But considering the Holland hold, it doesn't surprise me he would pull back.
Okay, on the game meta, what's going to happen? Austria and Russia. Or Russia and Turkey. Are they going to get it to, does Conk come back the other way or against Austria now, or do they still work together?
Okay, well, the game meta. So I kind of liked how you tried to diffuse the situation, telling people this was going to be a light episode and that we were all doped up, because I think that this is where we really enter like the dark reality of what Nexus play actually is, and really what makes it unique and at times even evil. So I just want to say, like, I'm reading Conk's poem. Did you guys read this?
I'm here. Let me put it on the screen. I've got it up.
Yeah. So I can't actually see it in front of me because I'm actually talking to you on the phone. But just to answer your question about their relations, what do you guys think is the desired effect of calling him a coward in verse in a public channel?
Let me read it to you. He said, "We've never seen a coward like the Cubby of Warsaw." And he didn't just take a shot at Russia. He took a shot. We've seen metal and grit, but not from the Germans or Brits.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think is his desired effect here? Is this just misdirection? Does this mean he actually is working things out with Russia?
I don't know is the answer to that question, because it could be misdirection. I don't put anything past Conk.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but with Nexus games in general, you have a public audience, and that can swing opinion in your game. And the finals is even bigger because you only have one game that everybody's watching. So just being able to play to the audience and see what their reactions are, it can definitely start to influence other people's play. Well, some people's play.
No, I think that's absolutely right. And actually even within the game, often it does harken slightly back to Nexus Game 1 with you. I think I put together some heroic poem as I was attacked by 3 different powers, and it can rally the players in the game to your side. But also, I would like to say he really on this meta front, he really is outplaying Village Idiot quite badly. If you look at Village Idiot's response, it's just kind of a crappy GIF right? Which is, you know, I have to say, I'm very much a diplomacy aesthetician, and you know, this is something that Umble is really weak at too. Just putting some crappy, unfunny GIF in response to actual art. So I would say, yeah. I mean, in terms of rallying the masses and kind of having this collective herd mentality swarming behind him, you've got to hand it to Conk. I mean, he's just a hero in more ways than one this turn.
Well, I messaged Conk. So everybody knows I did it, and I said, "Look, dude, that's my move. All right, like this, you know." But I'm going to take credit. I think I was the first to break the fourth wall on this Nexus business when I was down in the game and I was attacking everybody in the game. I started lashing out at the commentators even. And I think I think I started to gather some sympathy here. Shared a little bit of this. I told him I'm the wordsmith of it. I've got my massive post that I got Ajax to put up for me. I couldn't post publicly, where I said, competitors opposed to Milkman's egotistic and noxious tongue lashings. The comment act. And, you know, I had a long thing about this, but there was definitely a strategy in doing all this. A, to make him think I was a little crazy, but B, to think that, you know, I had a sense of humor. And I tend to think that with the players I needed, it worked. So what Conk here did, I like, but I think if you're Doc Bender, or I know Poser Thomas played in the season finals before of Nexus, but talk to us about Nexus. I mean, I think it's tell them about Nexus and how it is down here.
Well, I mean, I would say Nexus is kind of like the ghetto of diplomacy, in a lot of ways. I mean, it's just
the Warsaw ghetto or the South Side of Chicago ghetto.
A little bit of both, honestly. But so, for instance, I mean, just to get practical, right? So I've heard rumor, right, that at least at the beginning of this game, that the kind of Eastern Theater had moved on to Discord Press, whereas the Western Theater was sticking to like the cumbersome Backstabber Press. And I have to wonder if that's still true. You know, in my experience, just the Discord Press is so much more advanced that there's actually kind of an advantage to jumping on it early.
Yeah, it can be fast and instantaneous. You get the push notifications. You can make shorter comments.
You can share sandboxes instantaneously with each other.
You can also, I mean, more importantly, you can actually send screenshots of press. Of course, you know, so as that situation evolves, it's really interesting the kind of manipulations of the screenshots, which kind of they almost mirror where we're getting in kind of our political world with like deep fakes and misinformation. I mean, I remember the infamous and slippery eel Ramoni Cajal was the pioneer of this, which I hope I'm pronouncing that right, by the way.
He was photoshopping his press.
No, he actually wasn't photoshopping, so I was in this with him, but what he would do is he would say, I'm going to say this, and then you screenshot it and send it to so-and-so to make them think that this is what I'm going to do. So all I'm saying is I'm looking at Doc's game, and I hope that he's listening to this so that he understands. I mean, I'm actually amazed that a pure face-to-face player got so far. I mean, I've been in Nexus games where I will target a face-to-face player. I will surround them. I mean, because they're dangerous, right? They're dangerous, but they also don't really. They're a little bit like behind in the kind of ways of the communication styles, the gang mentality, you know. And then we know when you get to, like, for instance, season 3 with open identities, which was just such an interesting experiment. So, for instance, I remember in my first game. Have you guys ever heard of the international Italian meta mafia?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Not at all.
you haven't? Oh my
The
god!
Meta
Well,
Mafia?
just the Italian meta mafia. It's really a sinister organization. Basically, if you see someone with an icon that has an Italian flag in it, it's kind of this like ultra nationalist organization of Italians who will just kind of meta bomb your game. So you know Babbo, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so Babbo, I remember I was creeping up on a solo. It was like a kind of manipulation game where like there was some, I had some really good friends in there. And he added everyone in my game saying, "Watch out, he's gonna solo," and like urging them to attack me because of where I was ranked on the board to get into the finals, and they kind of try to push their own players. So I remember there was a future game where nobody in my game was really submitting screenshots, and I purposefully wasn't doing it because I knew that they were trying to get me. They were trying to look at my screenshots and like slow me down and blow up my game. Yeah, it was so amusing because Pez was actually furious about it and just like calling for my head and saying that, demanding the screenshots. In any case, a little off the rails there, but I think it is important to note this, right? Is the West and you can see, is the West technologically falling behind the East? I really hope that they do move to Discord Press soon.
Well, yeah, I learned it the hard way in the first season because all of my games ended up in Discord. Didn't matter what drama happened, I was just drugged through Discord. So every time it drug out, I was just like, well, I guess it's time to learn how to use this new kind of press.
So your story there reminded me of an article on Grantland, Diplomacy, the Game of the Alpha Nerds. This is about Eddie Brisson, probably the emeritus ambassador of diplomacy when he was a teenager. I've got this on the screen. He got a letter from another player in postal diplomacy that said, "I am not against a three-way draw and I will not take any more supply centers." The paragraph then goes, "Eddie took out scissors and a pen from a drawer and set to work on the letter, painstakingly doctoring it. When he was finished, he held up the letter and read it to himself. I am against a three-way draw, and I will take 3 more supply centers." He put the forgery in the mail to the third player.
So shady stuff has happened in the past. But yeah, it's just so easy to do that.
Yeah.
With just copy and paste.
There's actually one Nexus player who will go unnamed, who I don't know how he does it through HTML or what. I'm not a coder, but I've seen him actually just produce Discord chat that looks like it's being made by someone. So that's interesting, yeah. But the problem is, this almost seems like a counter argument that you should stay with the old backstabber press, but it's like Stitch's mentioned, right? There's this whole other set of advantages. For instance, I really like the sandbox can be kind of cumbersome, but if you use it, you can copy and paste screenshot shots that kind of frames certain parts of the map so that you can kind of focus people's concentration, not include extraneous information. And then there's also the selfie game.
What is the selfie game?
Oh, Ed, really?
I don't know anything. That's why my ranking is not as good as your guys. I don't know how to cheat well. How do we do it?
You are so 2017. You don't send people selfies.
Yeah,
really?
I've heard of a selfie. No, actually, I don't send. Look, have you looked at me? I'm helping people, not sending them selfies. Okay, I'm brightening their day.
Well, yeah. I mean, you just anyway. I don't want to really. This seems like it's too hardcore for your ears, so we'll just change the subject.
Well, look at this subject. This is going to go back to old school. I don't think you can see it You and I were in Nexus Season 1, Game 1 together. Remember?
Yes.
I actually know the day it began, September 4th, 2018, because I've now screenshotted it. You messaged me on Discord. Hey, I'm in your bracket as Germany. I would prefer to use Discord for press if that's all right. And look at the very next thing, January 15, 2019. I had no idea what you're talking about at the time. Like
Well,
press, Discord, backstabber, and I'm younger than Doc.
yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of Discord techniques. I mean, I don't know if they were pioneered, but in my experience, they were first used. I used to host these no hold bars, like no holds barred kind of private games that just were, because I did notice that people, I mean, at least kind of before the modern Nexus era, let's just call it that, right? People tended to kind of limit what the medium would be for communication, right? So, and you kind of even see this with the rise of the virtual face-to-face stuff, right? Like, I think it's my understanding that you can't use like other kind of mediums beside media. Is that correct? You have to speak.
You can. It depends on each tournament. They all have their different rules, but most allow you to message over Discord. So if you see two people in a room together talking, you can be messaging them saying, that's all bullshit. Don't believe him. He's saying blah blah blah. That sort of thing.
So you can send text.
You can send text.
Interesting.
But and some of the tournaments, DixieCon, you can call people. Like on the phone. I know you guys haven't done that ever, but
how do you know that? I've
heard
Nexus,
of a phone.
I've literally given my phone number to people. No one's actually ever called me that. This is like a desperation move. Like you just know you're about to get screwed, and you're like, listen, you need to trust me. Here's my actual phone number. Like, I'm serious. Call me. Yeah, it never worked.
That happened in the Media Wars game where Italy started calling everybody. It was bizarre. But yeah, this and I played with Eddie Brisson, and he would only he didn't know how to text. He's like in his 60s, and he was just like, here's my number, and I will not text, and I will not video chat. If you want to talk to me, this is how you get a hold of me.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, in season 1, I ended up going to only voice in my first game. We called and we talked about moves. That was all we did.
Think that
that's so beautiful?
You're a moderator, right, Stitches?
I'm an admin.
What's the difference?
Admin has full control. Moderator has control over what the admins want him to.
Okay, so you're the boss man?
One of the three, yes.
Well, let me ask you this. Can these players, are they allowed under the rules to voice chat?
Sure. I don't think there's any rules saying what they can and can't do for chat.
And that's how it should be, because it's impossible to enforce. So actually in season 1, that game, it's so funny that you looked up that message, right? So that game, they actually outlawed Discord Press shortly after I soloed that game. but fortunately, I think that it eventually dawned on everyone that it was impossible to regulate. And in fact, that it kind of adds something. I mean, why? There's no limits to the mode of sociality allowed in like the negotiations in the rules of diplomacy.
Well, in the qualifying games, it's right now it's still a rule that you have to remain anonymous. You can't reveal your identity. So there's no real way of expanding the press at this time outside of your platform. But in finals, it's open. So I don't think there is a limit on what you need to use for negotiations.
Yeah.
And you're both for that. You guys are both like, that's the way it should be.
I like it open. I like having more options and making it more fluid. Some people like it to be more contained, so it's more fair. But I mean, if you're
And
like
do you
Conk,
think people are
you're staying
doing
up
it?
24 hours a day, so that's not fair to a lot of people when he can message at all times in the hour. So, but some people have a job.
As for me, I actually think that I mean, I find for me personally, an anonymous game is much easier, right? I mean, and I'm sure that that's the same for you too as well. However, I do think that non-anonymous is more fair. Um, at least especially for the finals. I mean, it's just, for instance, non-native English speakers are very easily singled out and can't remain anonymous. And
Correct.
it very much favors a style of play. Like I know, for instance, that Humble is a crusader for anonymous games, but if you ever listen to Humble speak about how diplomacy should be played, almost everything he says about how diplomacy should be played is the way in which diplomacy would be played if Humble soloed every game.
It's always in his best interest.
Oh,
yeah, so he's just one of those people who never turns off, and in that way, like I've resented his media influence, for instance, over my games before. So he does actually bend. He is at times bent Nexus towards the kind of game he wants as well. So he's not
I will
innocent
say
of
I
it.
stuck up for you in that season 3 finals.
Frankly, I had never listened to them. But
Okay,
if,
Umble's against you.
I imagine so.
As hardcore as anyone can be against somebody. He was
okay. Well, let's not talk about season 3. We can. I'm glad to give a maybe 2-hour resentful rant about it at some point. But yeah, so maybe we can like wrap this up and like connect everything we said back to the actual board here. What do you guys think?
All right. By the way, I'm the controller. I'm the narrator. It's fine.
I just really need to leave right
you want to control the meta of this.
Yeah.
Anything not to talk about season 3, I get it. I won't bring it up again. All right. So bring all this to this game. Here we sit.
So
1903.
So yeah, I mean, like a lot of this is just a summary of what we've been discussing, and so I think that the West might be late adopters. They might have fallen a little bit technologically behind. I imagine that they will all kind of drift into Discord press at some point. I also would say that and actually this is kind of connects to your you're talking about your great tome about your final series, but I feel like a lot of a diplomacy game, and in some ways even more, maybe a high level game, is it's a very dramaturgical sport. You're creating a story, and you want people to join you like on the adventure. They want to be protagonists in the tale that you're weaving. In that sense, I really do think that Conk is making a comeback here. The collective will of people who want him to live now is pretty strong. So I think that's my final conclusion.
Stitches. Do you have anything to keep us in stitches?
I know Austria really likes using Discord press, and that might be why he hit it off with Conk a little bit more on this last move.
He does.
We'll just have to see if that continues. I don't know where Tom and Village Idiot are on that, but I know they can and have used Discord press before, so I think the East is still on par. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if or when the West actually will use the meta to their advantage.
All right, and finally, I mentioned it in my other podcast with Humble, but I'm not going to let Doc Bender's citation to Bruce Springsteen go unmentioned again. Just like Conk, Bruce is my territory. I quote Bruce. If you're going to do Remembrance Day poems, you're going to have to find another artist.
Wait. Doc posted something. Is he in the? He posted
Finals.
something in the public chat.
In the finals commentary for the Remembrance Day poem, he said, "It's too long, but my contribution is the first verse of Lost in the Flood, which is from Bruce Springsteen's song Lost in the Flood off of his album Greetings from Asbury Park, which is a very sad first verse." Actually, do I have it shared up here? I think I even have a copy of it. I can put it up on the screen really quickly. Wow. He did not post the lyrics, but I will put them up.
Well, that was a mistake, but I mean, wow, Doc, learning fast.
It was a
mistake to use Bruce.
Hey, Doc, next time just Google the lyrics and copy and paste them.
Copy and paste them, yeah.
Right.
And you'll make a bigger impact than making us look it up.
Actually, people love copy and pasted lyrics if you get them to sing along with you. You know, that's something I learned from my great sensei.
Yep, it's a heart roll.
All right. My last question to you guys before we wrap up today's episode. Does smoking dope enhance your ability to come up with imaginary moves? Or would that really be when you drop acid?
So it's actually it's kind of an offensive and defensive distinction. So if you're trying to come up with, so like some of the best openings you come up with when you're getting paranoid in a defensive stance. So let's say I am Turkey and I really suspect a kind of deep fake alliance between Italy and Austria. If I would just drop acid and then just get paranoid about what they could do to me, that could yield some good moves, right? Smoking dope, you're more contemplating your own advances. You know, you're kind of like, mid game, maybe as Germany, you got about eight units on the board. You're kind of trying to find the perfect move where you like pin them and take Denmark or something like that. So yeah, as you said in our last episode, different strokes for different folks, right?
That's right. I'm a live and let live kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I noticed Superstitious isn't commenting. I'm sure for good reason. I didn't mean to cast any aspersions on him. Thanks everybody for this very bizarre episode of The Diplomats. One I hope we can share on Friday the 13th at night, which I think would be apt for this episode. So enjoy it over the weekend, and you guys have a good weekend, okay?
Indeed.
You too.
Bye.
Yep. See you soon. Bye.